Well, howdy, folks. DaveMan here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, I said I was going to record a video, and it's an important video that nobody really is talking about. I mean, it's there in the ether. People have, mentioned it here in passing, but it's something that's going to have to be addressed by this nation, and specifically the direction for which this nation wants to head in our near future. This topic of Republican v. Democrat. When I hear these terms used in today's society, it really bugs me because they're archaic terms. What does it do? If you were to ask somebody today, how would you define what a Republican is? Depending upon who you spoke to, they would give you maybe 10 different definitions. All right. Same thing with a Democrat. What defines what a Democrat is in today's, market? You would get probably 1,000 different descriptions. But these parties, depending on which one you belong to, because majority of Americans who are active voters belong to one party or the other, can't really define what their party stands for anymore. And again, this was something that I had to realize many, many, many moons ago when I started to realize that it didn't matter which label they had on each other, because most of the time, these people would do things that were completely against whatever their party or their group, was supposed to be in favor for or against, and they would vote opposition. And it would be like, I'd be scratching my head and I go, oh, wait a minute, that's right. They're both playing for the same team. It's team them versus team us. And I'm not saying that the whole deck is stacked that way, but I'm saying that you have a group of people that have been groomed. Your senators, representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, they usually start out in the local, and then they get into the state, and then from the state they get into more of a federal type thing, and then they start to running for like maybe bigger jobs, like maybe a governorship or vice governorship or commissioner or something like that. And they're usually all around the soup bowl by the time they get up into Washington, D.C. So by that time, many of the people that you have seated in your, representation chair in Washington, D.C. have been lobbied, pulled in many different directions for years and years and years, and they already know that these people know how to play the game. And that is what's happened to us. So until Donald Trump got in there, then all of a sudden you start to see the shakeup. And the one thing Washington, D.C. does not want is a shakeup. They did not want the status quo, the everyday business, to be interfered with. What used to drive me nuts, and I used to use this analogy all the time. You had to imagine the Democrats and the Republicans, one as the Gambinos and the other as the Genoveses. And they're both, organized crime. And, one side, every once in a while, one bops the other one over the head, and then the other side bops the other head. But at the end of the day, if any one of these two groups, their crap game or their little, back alley deal game gets interfered with, they all jump on the grenade together and they all group together and save each other's ass. Criminals protecting criminals. And that's the game that has been going on for a very, very long time. So when I hear people use these words, Democrat, Republican, what does that mean? And for today's standards, Donald J. Trump is basically taken over the Republican Party. That, not in full yet, but he has basically turned the Republican Party, for the most part, into this Make America Great Again type party. A grassroots-based, working-class party, which used to be the Democrat Party. Because my family grew up as New York City Kennedy-type Democrats. The working class, the Union Democrats, always for the, for the people kind of thing. The ask not what you can do for you, ask what you can do for your country kind of Democrat, right? But as you can see, my family moved to Florida many, many moons ago because they realized what was kind of going on in the social class and in the systems and what was happening behind the scenes, my father in particular. There was this politic game happening. And what your parties have basically sold you as to who they truly are and what they truly represent is far from really who they truly are and who they truly represent. These people, for decades and decades and decades, have been playing the American people against each other. Democrats, Republicans. You should hate these because they have a D in front of them. You should hate them because they have an R in front of your name. But at the end of the day, it's the working class wage earners of this country who have been shit on and had been destroyed. All the taxes are being paid by these people. If you're lucky to have a business today and you can still maintain afloat on it, good for you, because most of the working class, middle, your private business owners have been crushed over the decades. And it got harder and harder and harder to open up because you started these monopolies and it became difficult, more and more difficult to expand and grow a business here. But this was all by design. This was all designed to create two major classes, a very, very rich class and a very, very poor class. And again, George Carlin used to make jokes about it all the time, is that there are two clubs, and you ain't in that club, all right? And that's the reality of it. And the club has this status quo game. Now, you see these representatives and these congressmen and senators for decades. You see them as they're the front men. They're the ones representing the deep state, a lot of times representing the special interests, representing all of these NGOs and all of this stuff. They're the front man. They're the ones to try to keep the public in belief that they're doing the hard work needed to battle those Democrats or to get that bill passed or to pass that budget and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, you and I are flipped with the bill. Our lives were getting a little bit more difficult, and everything started to get more and more hard to achieve in the United States, which is supposedly the richest country in the world. And a lot of people were going, makes no sense. And then you have a guy like Donald Trump who comes on the scene, who started talking about this stuff in his primary leading up to it. Basically, he was just the no-nonsense candidate. He didn't really have any political backing. I think he was 7th or something like that. And then it was just his message. What he was saying resonated with the everyday working man and woman. And everybody, and it's like, this is coming from a billionaire. He's already made it in his business, and now he's trying to realize, he goes, oh, wait a minute, the whole system's rigged. Oh, okay. So you can see what has happened over the course of these years. But the benefit of those 4 years, those dark years, those 2020 to 4 years of Biden in the auto pen, started us and gave us the opportunity to recognize who we are as a nation and where we want to go as a country. It did it for me. I have never experienced some of the things that actually happened in those 4 years. That it was hard. It was really, really hard. I was also one of those victims of fentanyl in my family. Took my wife. And these type of things, normally should not happen in a country supposedly as secure and as safe as ours. But as you can see, the parties that supposedly were supposed to look out for you and me have been lying to you and me. That's why I'm saying, when we hear the terms Republican and Democrat, you have to truly ask yourself, if you relate to one of those parties, what does that mean? And if that's the case, and if you can't answer that question, then what are we going to do as a nation of United States American citizens looking out for United States American citizens, people who live here, looking out for the interests of this nation, our neighbors, helping each other out, making the families of this nation blossom, bloom, and thrive? When we do that and stop looking at us as you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're in this group, you're in that group, everything works itself out. But what they've done is they've created this party system in which if you don't have all of these criteria, if you don't have all of these criteria, you can't discuss and you can't talk to one another. They made it impossible to have a conversation anymore. And Bill Maher pointed that out. It's funny, it takes a person, with balls to say, you know what, I'm tired of what everybody else is saying. I'm going to go talk to this guy. I'm just going to go have a conversation. And what he realized is what everybody else realizes when they finally sit down and talk to Trump one-on-one. The presentation that he has to present to the regular world every single day, because the world lives in snippets and sound bites. It's very, very broken. It's like he has to constantly repeat himself, and he has to use his word choice very, very carefully, because otherwise the media will chop it up and say that he said this about this, and he did it in this way, and he did it with that face. And this is the kind of crap that's been going on, and it's like, are we looking out for the best interest of this country, or are we just looking to try to nail one party or this person or that person to the wall? What are we doing as a nation? Do we really know what party politics really is? I mean, everybody has their issue. Everybody's going to complain about this is my issue. But I'm talking about as the nation as a whole. If we don't have a secure border, if we don't have a good economic system or a group of leaders that is actually taking the economics and the money that we make in this country seriously and using it wisely, then what the heck are we even having these people do? What are they there for? If they're just going to create more problems from you and me, where we have to pick up the tab every single time they want to go ahead and spend more money that we do not have, That is not responsible governance. And this goes on both sides. Both parties are responsible for this. There's blame to go everywhere. The question is, who is willing to make it stop? And if they're not willing to make it stop, are you willing to do what it takes to get them out of office so we can put somebody in there who will make it stop? This goes down to what you and I, America, plan on doing in the future. You know, again, I'm not going to be living, 35, 40 years from now. The future is going to be up to this younger generation. And what is our responsibility? What are we doing about it to make it better than we received it? Because I'm telling you right now, the football has been fumbled. And maybe it wasn't our fault, but we know where the problems are now. And if we don't address it as a nation and start putting these stupid labels aside and start realizing we're all in the same boat and we're all seasick together, and the only way we're going to get through this, I'm not saying that Trump has the answers for everything, but I'm saying that every decision that he has made thus far has been putting the interest of the American people first. I'm sorry that we have people in the opposition worried about immigrants who came into the country illegally, about their due process, when we have people in this country who's been raped, murdered, and destroyed by this influx of people, and we're not worried about their due process. We're not worried about their society, their towns, their courtships. We're not worried about any of that. We have got to really start re-examining what we are as a nation. Otherwise, this open borders thing, you are not a nation. You don't have a constitution. You have no protections. It's funny how people want protections when it's over their issue, but when we're dealing with the big home and everybody else as a melting pot, as a country, as a United States, that issue becomes number one. My issue becomes number one. We have got to stop looking at things like this and stop beating each other over the head over issues that do not matter on the surface, because if you do not have a secure nation, and you do not have an economically responsible nation, and you do not have a president at the helm that's looking out for the interests of this nation, you have anarchy. You have governments that get overthrown. You have just people going after each other nonstop. And that is how many of the greatest nations in the world were destroyed, from within. We have to start talking to each other. We have to start looking at what really defines. Look, I have no problems with having a conversation or a debate with somebody over any issue. But you have to have defined understanding of the issues, the whole ins and outs, every vertical about that issue. Otherwise, you don't really know what you're talking about. Like I said, I've gone to many of these protests, and a lot of the people at these protests, they have signs and they have all of this jargon that they keep repeating. But when you ask them to try to articulate deeper as to how they came to that, they get defensive because they don't really know the full calamity of the issues that they are defending. We can't be a nation of ignorant people anymore, arguing with one another about things we just do not understand, both Democrats and Republicans. But what does that mean? We need to figure out as a nation, if you are a Republican, what is your party going to be? And it has to be very generalized. Once you start getting into the specifics, you ostracize so many people. It's got to be about America first. It's got to be about everybody has the right to freedom of religion, freedom of expression, whatever the heck it is that you say we are going to be. Two genders, if that's what it's going to, whatever it's going to be. We have to define what that is. And then the people, the group, the base of this nation needs to bring it to their districts, to their communities, and start talking that this is what we are now. This is what we are going to become. No more of this. We're looking out for corporate. We're looking out for military industrial complex. We're looking out for big pharma. No more of this. We're either looking out for this nation and the people that they represent for this nation, or we're not. But it's going to be up to us if these people in the next 100 days don't get this budget under control. That's both Democrats and Republicans. Because it's unsustainable, the amount of money that this nation has been spending over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Okay, ridiculous numbers that are unsustainable and are falling on the backs of you and me. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't see any upside for you and me if we continue to keep going down this road. Now, President Trump, like him or not, you may not like his rhetoric, you may not like the way he approaches things, you may not like his sense of humor. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, emotions need to be left at the door. You got to start putting that crap aside. Stop listening to what other people say and just start looking at the way things are starting to develop. Does your life get better because of this? Stop looking at the people. You know how many people I've worked with over my years in time that, were total assholes, but they knew how to do the job better than some of these other people. So you tolerate their stupidity because you knew at the end of the day, the job would get done correctly. At the end of the day, I'm not asking anybody to marry any of these people. I'm asking for you to get involved in your district and force it in the direction that you want your nation, you want your children to grow up in. If you are going to define a Democrat Party, especially the Democrat Party out there, if you are going to define yourself with the likes of David Hogg, this AOC crowd, this Bernie Sanders crowd, this false sense of what you truly think you are in this populism group. Look, I've been to the protests. I've been to the anti-Trump protests. They don't know what they're talking about. Your base that's supposedly attending these things does not have a vertical or a platform for which is solid to combat any future MAGA candidate at the presidential level. So until you get that affairs in order, there is nothing going on there. AOC, Kamala, whoever they put on the ticket won't make a difference because you won't have the base. They won't trust what's going to happen. There's been too many lies. There's been too many empty promises. There's been too much woke nonsense that's ripped that party apart. You don't have any foundation. We don't know what you stand for. For years and years and years, you told everybody that, no, there's no such thing as a woman. I mean, really, what do you stand for? What is it that made the Democrat Party great to begin with? If you're talking about Jack Kennedy and Jack Kennedy Democrats, they don't exist no more. So if that's the party that you want, and that's the party that you want to go back to, well, you need to create and put people in office that understand what that is all about. This country used to be about the issues. It used to be about arguing and articulating the issues and bringing truth forward. But with a media that is filled with bullshit, lies, and manipulation, and then having our leadership constantly meddling in the representation of who they supposedly are, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or you're pretending to be a Republican when really you're just working for the opposition, but you're wearing the opposition's clothing. I mean, whatever your shtick is, the American people deserve better, and if you're not going to give them better, there is groups of people now that are just done with this. I am one of them, and I know a ton of people that are just building and building and building, because you can only kick a person in the you-know-what so long before they say, you know what, I've had enough of it. The way we change this nation, we change the party system, we change the identity of what we are as a nation, comes from the ground up. This comes from a ground up movement that's going to push forward and uprise from the dirt and the ashes this new leadership, this new idea, this new centered around what the young folks are and where we are, looking at AI, looking at all of the things that are on the table right here and now, what we want to be, what we want to determine who we are as a nation going forward. Those questions are going to have to be answered very soon, and we're not going to be able to do that if we don't even take care of the budgets, if we don't take care of the treasure of the United States and put people in charge who know what they're doing and actually care about the people who give them a job in the first place. It's up to us to redefine what those parties are, because as of right now, if you are a person who identifies as Republican or Democrat, you're already late to the game. They don't exist anymore. Don't talk in terms of that. It's what a person does that matters. It's what a person has been doing that matters. It's what impact they make towards making your life and the lives of the American people better. Because if they ain't doing any of that, what do we need them for? There's been too much embedded nonsense in all arms of this apparatus for decades. I mean, I will go back to 1913 and the start of the Federal Reserve, and then all of the other things that kind of like stemmed off after that. You have 17 intelligence agencies. In my opinion, we don't need 17 intelligence agencies. That's why we have secrets and crap going everywhere and everybody overstepping everybody else's job and too many people doing the same damn job on top of one another. I don't need that. We don't need that. And that's exactly why we have so many of these intelligence officials making these false accusations and stories and then selling them to the media and the media running with them. Crossfire Hurricane. I mean, we can go on and on and on about all of the justice that has not been ever served to the people who have committed crimes within our own government. But if we don't even define what we are as a nation going forward and getting rid of these archaic terms, and where the people finally stand up and say, you know what, we've had enough, and we're going to take out and rip out the rot that has been destroying. You've got to find out if your senators, your representatives in your district, stop with the Democrat, Republican. Democrat and Republicans, y'all need to get together and start talking about saying, hey, how's my life crappy in my district? And who are we going to put in here that's actually going to care about the people in this district and care about the treasure and the needs of those people in the years and months to come? Because if you've got a person in there who's been in there for 25, 30 years, it's time to get rid of them, don't you think? It's time to send them packing. This is not a career. You're supposed to be there serving. And these people have only been serving themselves. Got to stop fighting against each other. It's got to stop looking at these archaic terms, because those archaic terms are what keeping us at this 50-50 split, and we are not there as a country. We are better than this. We've always been better than this. And we've just been listening to too many of the wrong people tell us nonsense about how we are and who we are as a country. What do you think you are? What do you want to be remembered as? What do you want for your life and your children's life and your future? These people have been giving it away for decades. It's about time we start paying attention to that kind of stuff and stop fighting with each other and start recognizing where the real issues are. Because when we do that and start throwing these stupid things aside, this country becomes one of the most beautiful, what it should have been. The vision that Trump is talking about, it's not just for, it's for you, it's for everyone. I still to this day don't understand why anything the mainstream media puts out, you should just think the opposite. I mean, especially those specific networks out there that go out of their way, like the New York Times and MSNBC, and like, it's just insane what they do every single day. But people continue to keep watching it, and the nonsense continues to get disseminated. How this stops is when you make it stop. You talk about it. You be about it. It becomes part of your everyday life. I'm not saying you have to bleed it and love it and live it every single day, but you need to know what's going on around you. And when others are talking out of turn and talking nonsense, you need to give them that attitude adjustment. Tell them, no, you're wrong, and this is why. It's important to have conversations again. The one thing I noticed when I went to these protests is nobody there wanted to have a conversation, because, again, they can't defend their points because they really don't know what they're even talking about. So the Democrat Party right now is a party of just out on the fringe of whatever. And until they find a rally point or whatever it is that's going to make them their next, what everybody can kind of get behind, they got nothing. As far as the Republican Party, there is a process going on right now which is exposing those who basically work for the opposition and exposing those who won't do the right thing even though the country is asking them to do it. So you have three-way split in the Republican Party. That's why I'm saying throw it out the window. It is MAGA, and we know it is because that's what Trump is. And that's what everybody has been pushing for in this party. You have Democrats coming from the other side, people who are independents joining this movement, not necessarily joining the Republican Party, but joining what President Trump represents. Why? Because what he represents is totally different than anything everybody's been offering for decades now. And that's what makes him different. And that's what makes him very important and a vital part of our nation's history. You may not like his name today, and you may spit on his picture every single time you see it, but in the future, your children are going to be damn ass glad that that man was here at this time. But as far as what we are going to be doing as parties going forward, 2026 midterms is coming up. And until we, as a party or as a nation, MAGA, whatever it is, the shtick is going to be, until we really define and hardwiring it. This is what we're looking for in all of our representation going forward, because this is what we want as a nation going forward. Until we can chisel that out and put those people in the positions of power we need in order to get the legislation passed that we want, we're going to continue to keep playing games with the Johnsons of the world. Now again, President Trump has a lot of faith in these people, and I really really hope for their sake that they do the right thing, because otherwise they will not be serving America or anything going forward. The American people have had enough, and I don't know what we got to say to let these people know this. If you continue down this road, there's going to get a point where every people, all of us, Democrats, Republicans alike, are just going to destroy everything. And I hate to say that, but that is what's going to happen if this was to continue down the direction Joe Biden and these globalists wanted to do. You're going to have total anarchy in a country, because we are a nation of laws. And if the people don't follow those laws and they only apply to me, you, or the group that's in power, well, then we become exactly what we've been fighting against. It comes down to us. It comes down to MAGA, those people paying attention, those people who care, those people who are in the know, to continue to keep passing along the message and fighting for this message. Bringing more people to the table and bringing them to the understanding, showing them what the signal, what the noise is, what you should rule out, what you need to focus on, so that they can be part of the true understanding. Because once you have that, once it turns on, my friends, once you see past the nonsense, it opens an entirely different world for you. And you start to realize, wait a minute. Oh, it's a game that they're playing against each other. Oh, I see what it is. They keep putting us in boxes. And they keep saying, you hate you and you hate... It's a trick. The way we beat this trick, it's us. We're all on the same team. We all want the same things. Overall, we all want the same things. Those specific little things we can work out in the states. We can work out in our local communities. We can work out as a people. Get the government out of our lives. Stop telling them control everything. We need more liberty. But we also need people who understand that we are the reason they have a job in the first place. They take all of it from us so that they can do what they do. But when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's up to us to ensure those people are removed so that we can put the proper people into representation that are actually going to do the job. Republican, Democrat, take those words, shove them down the toilet, hit the flush again, and hit the flush a third time. Irrelevant. They don't mean anything. So if you hear a person using those terms, just assume that they're talking verbal diarrhea, because there's no way to define what that means anymore. It's what the person does. It's the individual we're looking at. Each individual by their merits alone and what they've done. And that's how we're going to make our decisions. No more of this, oh, they're part of the party. We've got to stop that. We decide. America decides. And we decide when we are a United States of America. We got to get back to being united again. And I think this is the time. All right, my friends, I will talk with you soon. Please like, share, subscribe. If you learned something from this video, or if you like me talking about something, or you want me to talk about something else, just leave me a comment below. We have an opportunity to stop the nonsense for the first time with this president. Because if we don't get rid of this fourth branch of government that's operating and puppeteering all of the people that are making the decisions for us, if we don't get rid of that apparatus this time, who the hell knows what's going to happen in elections to come if we don't get control of it. We've got to take this serious as a nation. It's so easy. Everybody wants to look the other way and think, somebody else will do it. No, you're going to do it. I'm going to do it. We're all going to do it. We're going to do it together. It's our nation. It's our future. It's up to us. Nobody else is going to help us. We have to do it together. I hope to see you out on the battlefield, my friends. Take care. Godspeed. Be well.